Welcome back. It's time to meet the guy with the hottest mom in all of Minnesota. He goes by the name of ZP. We also got Jason Kaplan with the mustache back, ready to rock. Let's start with you, J-Cap. How does it feel having to watch me in your seat? Is it just infuriating?
It actually makes me feel great because I left you a special present in that seat, and I hope you've been smelling it all night long.
I've been feeling it. It's been murky down here. ZP, the results were a little bit murky for EU because I was used to watching the Virtus Pro guys, aka the Buff Enjoyers, taking home dubs. Tonight, they were handed 2 L's at the hands of the Abrahams.
Yeah, I mean, they're 0-1 under that new logo, so maybe they should consider going back as well, say from the start.
Logo's kind of shit, right?
Yeah, the old logo was better. I just got to say it. But look, I think that what I take away from that, I mean, there's a lot to take away. People are going to go, maybe Victor's not very good. I'm going to go with the positive and say I think Billy is amazing right now. I think we've seen Billy climb the charts, and Abraham's picking Billy first in that final map was, I think, properly recognizing just how good Billy is now that people have had some time to figure out proper itemization on the hero.
ZP appreciates farm animals. Keep that counter rolling. That's our first one on the night. Sorry, Jason Kaplan, thoughts on this one?
No, I'm also curious because we've always said with Buff Enjoyers or Virtus Pro, whatever they've been named, this is a team that's really hard to be banned out or like counterpicked when it comes to the draft. But banning Viscus against them seems to be pretty damn effective.
It worked out. It worked out. But now we're here in NA, and you can see the names below me. We have the melee creeps. Another cat in Deadlock. I don't know what it is with you people. There's purring requests.
I think
there's cats in every logo possible.
It is.
We got the Lil Troops on the other side. ZP, historically, who's the stronger team between the tiny people?
Well, these two teams have not played against each other quite exactly. It depends on how much you want to count PKP, because, of course, Saiah and JonJon were just playing with PKP now with the new iteration of Melee Creeps. But overall, if Melee Creeps can channel some of their former glory, I'd give Melee Creeps the edge coming on in here. Lil Troops still a bit newer to the scene, still looking to polish things up. More experience on Melee Creeps here for sure. And I'm excited to see what they're going to bring to bear here because, JonJon was kind of hyping up the new iteration on the last Graveyard Shift about how Melee Creeps is coming back. So I'm curious if we're going to get one of those epic Melee Creeps versus Hydra Nation finals once again.
Kaplan, we had JonJon on the show last week. Is he the star to look at on this squad, or who do you have eyes on?
You know what? I'm not even going to give it to JonJon anymore. I was not that I wasn't a fan of him, but I never saw him as being the star player on any iteration of Melee Creeps. For me, I'm going to look towards Renon because he's a relatively unknown player. We've never seen him in DLNS. We've never seen him in Fight Night. We've never seen him play competitively, and he probably has the most pressure on him to perform for this team who already has 5 other players who've extensively played competitively within Deadlock. So for me, that's the player to really watch out for.
Shout out to Bread Kit in the chat. Puckett looks like Biff from Back to the Future. That's how I know you're old, bro. You're referencing movies from 1990. We got to keep this moving, though. We just saw the Melee Creeps, the Little Troops on the other side, a squad that we've seen multiple times here on the night shift. Flaws, Mott, Rhino, Stride, G-Freak, and Poshy Pop. Now, Poshy Pop is the most fun name to say, but who is going to be the most impactful in game, ZP?
I think the player that's really impressed me over the last few weeks, as we've seen more of Lil Troops, has been Mott. Mott, especially in the playmaking role, has looked really, really good, particularly when Mott has been able to secure Holiday. Now, is Holiday going to be available for Lil Troops now that there's a lot of game tape on them and the fact that Holiday is a pretty high meta pick that you generally want to deny? I would guess no. I think if you've done your research on Lil Troops, number one, you deny the Holiday away from Mott, and ideally also, if you can work it, get the Paradox at the same time, but you can't always get what you want draft-wise. And also, I think this draft could get a little bit wild and crazy. I think NA may go down the Drifters side, but we'll have to see.
I think the funniest thing about North America right now, ZP and Puckett, looking at this, I swear it feels like a K-drama, like a new Netflix, superstar show across the world, because Melee Creeps have spread out into like 3 different teams. You have Little Troops, you have the new Melee Creeps now, and you have Hydra Nation. And who knows what's going to happen? There's going to be drama, there's going to be action, there's going to be potentially a love story happening. I'm excited to see what's going to happen here in NA.
JonJon 65 is now Job 95, according to the chat. Good luck, JonJon, in your matchup. He says he's going back to the 9 to 5 if he loses this series. ZP, does he lose with Victor on his team? He said NA was going to get weird tonight. Who will be the first to pull out the new characters?
Between the two teams, I think Melee Creeps may be the ones to pull it out, or actually maybe Little Troops. The reason being is that I think if you're coming in as a team with more pedigree and feeling like more experience, you just kind of want to go with the things you know work. Whereas going with the Victor right now, it's still new, and you don't know exactly how your pub experience is going to convert to an actual live match experience. Victor, though, on paper, very strong. I also think in terms of combinations we didn't see in EU, I actually like the idea of running Victor and Drifter together. I mean, just, again, maybe anecdotally here, I just like the idea of when you have the Eternal Knight that's blinding people, it's actually way harder to actually position and zone against the Victor at the same time. So I'd love to see the same two picked in the exact same draft.
It's the exact same thing I was thinking about, ZP. We unfortunately have to talk about, well, not the schedule. We're on to the fun part. Jason Kaplan, did you know this show is presented by Intel?
I did.
Did you know that Intel and Night Shift are partying on the weekends? Let's take a look at some of our awesome calls to action. This one, of course, is calling out the fact that we're back with CS2 with legends like Anders. We've got our own DDK and James Bardolph joining the show as we are going to showcase some of the best teams from EU this week. And I know you've been following the CS scene for about as long as I have, Mr. Kaplan. What are you excited about in this showdown?
I'm excited to see how the special show match breaks down, actually, because I feel like you kind of get a slight edge. If you guys didn't catch last week, we're playing on like a TF2 map with some slight modifications to how the game is played. And I want to see how the teams that are participating kind of handle that, because it can be very difficult. And I know, with Jake on the broadcast as well, he's obviously a big TF2 player in the past. I've dabbled in it quite a bit as well. I think it's a nice little addition to what it can bring with CS with this little crossover.
Absolutely. That is going down once again this week. And join the Night Shift crew, Intel and Asus Republic of Gamers. We are going to be featuring some of your favorite faces, some familiar voices, and having a whole lot of fun with our entire production team. I know Solomon is super excited about this one. When he's not behind a keyboard, he's bunny hopping around his apartment. Let's take a look, though, at what we have coming up on the show as well. It's the Intel Gamer Days. Battlefield has been in my repertoire. I have been crushing buildings. ZP, you can get Battlefield 6 for free if you get our qualifying deals from Intel during the Gamer Days, August 25th through the 7th of September.
Look, I'll be honest, I looked into it because when it comes down to it, what better price is there than free? A lot of cool ways to get some of the best games that you love, including Battlefield 6. If that's something you got interest in, check it out, Intel Gamer Days, from now until September 7th. So you got a few little days left here, about 4 days left.
Yeah, wide variety of Intel-powered desktops and laptops, and a bunch of qualifying purchases will help you get that copy of Battlefield 6. Head on over to game.intel.com if you want more information. For now, though, I'm told the teams are ready. We can talk about the competition that we're about to witness. North America as the Melee Creeps. We've got the Little Troops. It's the start of North America, which means it's a best of one. The winner of this will go on to play a best of three for the $1,000 against Hydra Nation. ZP, as we get into it, as always, Mo and Krill will decide who gets first pick. We got Z's and Blue taking on our Yellow Man. What are you witnessing?
Watching Saiah right now get the early parry, fall through, but the parry comes in the other end. Actually neck and neck right now between Melee Creeps and the opposition, but Saiah another parry. That's going to put over the top. Melee Creeps get choice of first or second pick.
I think that's the fastest 1v1 we have witnessed, Kaplan. That was dominance.
We've had like the meta adapt on itself, and compound on itself like 30,000 times over the course of DFN and DLNS. So it's nice to have a quick one once in a while. But moving into the draft, man, this is where things are get really interesting. And as ZP, you mentioned before, you wouldn't be surprised to see Drifter being picked. I wouldn't be surprised as well, because honestly, NA feels like the Wild Wild West sometimes.
Yeah. NNA, they get a little bit wild and crazy with it. And look, we just don't know. No one decided to go for Drifter last week. This week, it may be different. But some things you can't deny. Vindicta's value in the game. Saw it in the EU final and saw it all throughout the last Night Shift. Banning Vindicta first makes a lot of sense if you're not looking to play it.
Yeah. Side, Lil Troops is going to make their moves here, Kaplan. Is there anything that is really impactful this early? Is first ban going to decide your whole composition?
I don't know, actually, because there was a period of time that you would typically not want to be the first team to ban. And it looks like we did reverse it. I believe yeah, Little Troops went for the first ban, and then we showed it in the wrong order. But it was better to be the second pick at some point because you could get 2 heroes instead of the one initially to kind of like set up your composition later on. But I don't know what it's currently at now with the 6 new heroes released because there's so many extra variables thrown into this one. One thing we are seeing though, as we saw with the Buff Enjoyers game, Pocket is a very high priority pick if you want to bring out a Victor on your team just because the anti-heal alone.
Melee creeps with the melee characters. We're going to see Billy first pick again, aren't we?
I think it's a high likelihood. Holiday, though, also going to be brought on in. That is the Saiah special. When Melee Creeps was able to take down Hydronation in the past, part of why they were able to do it was Saiah just being unbelievable in the Holiday. Saiya's signature hero, in my opinion. You back this up with a Billy, and I think you have a great 1-2 punch here. But you do have to be worried about the fact where, you know, on one hand, you don't want to give up Victor to Little Troops if they're angling for it, but the fact that they take Pocket makes it difficult to go, and that can't be right because we've banned Vindicta. You can't pick Vindicta if it's already been banned, so something has gone awry here.
I'm thinking the blue face up there is wrong. Wait, that way. Yeah, that blue face is wrong. The other blue face is right. We're going to switch them out real quick. So if they didn't ban Vindicta, who was it really?
Delightful.
Viscous?
Not
In the
7.
meantime, we're going to keep it rolling. 7's in.
Yeah, it could have been Viscous, it could have been Billy. For Lil Troops, I would expect to see some frontline here, whether it be an Abrams or a Billy. This is about the draft. You would
There we go.
The point of the draft, you'd see it get picked. And okay, Viscous was the one that got picked. That makes a little bit more sense. It also gives Melee Creeps a wild early game heading on in here. But Lil Troops got to pick up Paradox. Also makes sense because if they didn't pick up the Paradox now, it would probably go away in the mid-stage bans.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pick potential and Paradox getting the extra damage with the gun lately is definitely a big improvement to her kit. But I'm trying to think, you know, for Melee Creep side with 7 being locked in, you kind of need to look towards what would be your late game hyper carry, and they're definitely playing more towards utility with the current setup of Holiday and Viscous paired together. But I'm also curious, as you mentioned with Saiah, you know, playing Holiday in the past, is he going to continue playing like the pick hero for his team? I'm not really sure. Like, I don't really know what Melee Creeps are going to be fielding for their individual roles because they have switched up so much into their actual kit. And we've seen Zerbzy be more of the support player in the past, like your typical Kelvin player. So maybe Saiah would rotate to something different, but you know, only time's going to tell.
Megs 1300 says Saiya's signature hero is Calico. Don't know how well Megs knows ball, but they might be right. In the meantime, we had a 1,000 sub goal put up there, chat. If you're just joining us and you're wondering why, well, it's our first night that we have subs available on Twitch. We've got members over on YouTube as well. Thank you to all of our new members. But if we get to 1,000, Jake said he would wear a Catmaid suit. I think he already owns it, so he's ready to rock it out on camera.
Just want an excuse to use it.
Yeah,
But Kaplan,
like
before Jake put his name out there, you were mentioning something in the green room as well. If you would cosplay at a certain sub goal, who would you want to cosplay as?
I thought it was something. I actually had something right next to me. I thought you were gonna go a different direction with that. I think I gotta pull off the lash just because the mustache. I got the hair length as well, so I just gotta shave the sides, get a blue tank top and a necklace, maybe like a fake piercing, and I'm good to go.
You're basically the same buffness. I see that. ZP, what
I
about
wish.
you?
I mean, the chat has one request, and that's Abrams. I mean, maybe it's the glasses, face shape. I don't know what it is, but you know, just dunk a can of blue paint on me, add some horns. I think I'm good to go.
All right, chat, let us know what you would like to see from our talent. We are going to rotate the punishments. Jake has offered to go first, but this is just our first day of subs, and we're going to have fun here as long as I'm the manager of the night shift. Yes. Oh, it's getting dangerous. Don't you put that on that, Jess.
I don't know if people remember from DFN, I did promise if we hit 1,000 subs in that show, I would shave my head. But I don't think we're going to hit 1K today for me to shave my head. So, but I got it just in case.
Ready. He's got it ready, chat. I
That's
like this a
wild.
lot. Already, we've got a sub coming in. Shout out to 132 Turtle 132 using the Prime. It's the best way to do it. Why? It cost you nothing. You could make Jason Kaplan look like Lash. He'll even do the little dash in his eyebrow, he said. Maybe. We're going to get that confirmed. In the meantime, Ivy, the star of our previous matchup for EU, is coming out for the Melee Creeps. So far, ZP, who's winning the draft? Because the hype train just started, baby.
You know, when I look at the draft overall, I kind of like the Lil Troops draft a little bit more, but it's also hard to say. I think the early game pressure of Melee Creeps is going to be out of this world with how they've drafted. I think for Lil Troops, though, I mean, their team fighting is going to be ridiculous. You still have Paradox, which is good early, Seven, and also the fact that you have Kelvin Lash, which it works in tandem, where Lash doesn't really love going against Kelvin because of Dome ruining his day, but Dome can enhance Lash's day with a really good Death Slam. So, I mean, both teams have things that they can rely on the way they've built.
Were they not thick and meaty enough? Why do you add Shiv into the mix here, Kaplan?
I mean, Shiv Kelvin, tried and tested. Stride got our player of the match last week in our best of one as well. So when I throw it back to him another time, and of course he executes late game, he can be very, very hard to deal with. Can I quickly hop back though? Because we talked about Holiday with Saiah. With Ivy being picked, Saiah plays Gun Ivy. So I actually wonder, is he going to be playing Ivy for the team here? And then when we maybe see Zerbsy on like Viscous or Holiday. I wonder if we'll have that little rotate come through.
Yeah, I mean, it could go. It could go either way. I think for me though, given that they reformulated and probably wanted to reformulate on the idea of like, hey, play what you're best at. I still think, again, maybe I'm just biased to the times where they caught Hydronation off guard, but I feel like you don't put Saiah on Holiday, it might be a bit of a mistake.
In the meantime, while you guys nibble on that, shout out to Potato Pino coming in with a sub. We've got the Prime being used by Richard Nixon's head. Fucking Gigablast using the Prime. NHey2568, thank you for the Prime. We've got Up Phoenix dropping the Prime. ZP, if someone drops 10 gifted, what animal noise are you making? Can you purr?
I believe so. And, you know, the first one's free, I guess this is like, let's see.
Give him a sample.
That's what I got right now.
Was that a soundboard? Move your hand and do it again.
No.
Ladies, he's still single. You can change that by the end of this show. Here we go. We've got our teams locked in. The draft is done. Kaplan, who do you give the dub to for the pre-match fight? Who won the draft?
I think this is... I don't know. I don't know if I'm really set in stone. It kind of, to me, determines on how it play, or it's determined by how it plays out. How Renon, I'm assuming, to be playing the Haze, will be doing. I think in terms of like composition together, working together, like Lil Troops for sure. Like you have Seven, Pocket, Kelvin, Lash all together. You have a pick potential at a Paradox. You have a very well-rounded composition, and you have a very strong late game comp as well with like the Shiv, Pocket, and Seven together. But Melee Creeps, like I don't want to count them out. Like they still have a very like heavy pick comp early with the Haze. You can rotate around. Holiday can provide a lot of early catches as well. Viscous gives you that safety net if you get overcommitted. Yamato can always pop off. And if Saiah is playing Ivy, he has a ridiculous gun Ivy as well.
We have a hype train level 3 choo-chooing over on twitch.tv. Thanks once again to all of the members on YouTube. We're also up and running, I'm told, on kick.com. We're everywhere you want to watch video games in seppuku. Just subscribed. If you want your name in the chat, all you got to do is pull in a fax and make ZP purr, baby. ZP, let it rip.
I think I just wanted to. I don't know why I'm doing two more of those. Like, I just want to go. Like, it's where
he just wants to keep going. I'm getting goosebumps, and I don't think it's a good thing. So as soon as we can, observers, start the game. It's getting weird over here. Jason Kaplan, I think your mustache started it, but I'm feeling the vibe. Any final thoughts before we get the NA Challenger match? Because K, Jim, and crew are subbing in. We are 18 away from 400 subs on Twitch.
I was getting a little bit worried that you were making up some names, honestly, with some that you were saying before. I had to like
can't read so good, but they're here.
No, they were good, and I got kind of jealous. You got to do the readout of a certain name back there about Gigablast, but yeah, no, honestly, a big shout to all the subs as well today, man. We've seen some overwhelming love when it comes to the show from all of you watching. It's been fantastic to see, especially since we took a little bit of time to get back on our feet after DFN.
Yeah, Sudokai coming in with the Prime sub as well. Thank you for that. ZP, when you aren't working on this show or oiling your body out in your backyard, what are you doing?
Well, you know, one thing I'm going to be doing tomorrow is that we're going to be doing some Rivals Night Shift action on our Umbrella account a little bit later. So that's also something to check out tomorrow if you want to see more of the crew involved. But
all thanks to Intel, baby. So is this NA matchup. It's Melee Creeps. It's Lil Troops. It's video games. It's the Night Shift round 4. Take it away.
All right, Jason, we're getting on into it, and I've had a little bit of time to ruminate on the draft that we just witnessed, and I actually think Melee Creeps is coming out here with one of the most blasting early game drafts you could do, because even their late game option, Yamato, is still ridiculous at early laning. You're gonna have to deal with the Yamato Viscous lane in mid. You're gonna have to deal with the holiday rotations. The fact that Geist is also, above average in the early mid game. You're gonna get the mobility coming in from the Ivy and Hayes' mid game power. If Lil Troops can actually get through all of that and be even by 20 minutes, I think they'll win. But there's a world where they're just deep, deep in the hole by the time we get to that point in the game.
And I think there's something we can't really forget about ZPs. That like Melee Creeps, I don't think they've had that much time to meld together as a team. I mean, they were just playing as PKP last week with Saiah and JonJon on the roster, right? So I feel like they haven't been able to really get the reps in necessarily on their team. But I think if we can see them take down Little Troops and actually get through into the championship match, that'd be such a good sign for the roster. And to be fair, Melee Creeps were the only team to legitimately, properly dethrone Hydra Nation in the past.
Just I gotta ask you, what do you feel about the Shiv Kelvin lane on this patch? At one point, it used to be the god destroyer of lanes in Deadlock, highly prioritized by teams, especially in EU. Nowadays, it feels like it's a good lane, but it doesn't overpower the way it used to. And in fact, like up against Holiday Haze, I actually think it could get poked back more than you'd expect.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be painfully honest. I haven't had much time to play the last 2 weeks with my parents visiting from the US, which is why I haven't been around here for the show. So I haven't really been able to get as much game time in, but I can kind of see with the like change to gun damage and I guess like some adaptation of the way teams play and more how open they are and understanding of how this combo kind of works. Pressure early on before they have the heals. You can kind of snowball that later on. I feel like it's definitely not that S tier that we looked back at the past of being like the strongest or one of the strongest lane duos for sure.
Actually, take a look at that Strides itemization there, and you do kind of get the, yeah, I know we're in for a bad time versus the Holiday lane, where your first buy is often telling in lane. Are you going for something regen-wise, or are you going for something that's going to allow you to be more aggressive? And in Stride's case, Stride just goes, yeah, lock me in for the extra regen at the beginning. I feel like I know where this lane is going to go.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't think you're really looking for any kill potential until you do get that ultimate online anyways, right? Get the frozen shelter down so you can get the assassinate through and lock down yourself a kill. But I do like the position we're seeing Renon take to the side, trying to mix up and force the angles out of Little Troops to play a little bit differently in this lane to not make it so easy to make sure to lock down all of these souls. Even goes for monster rounds too, realizing they want to make sure that their Guardians are under a lot of pressure. They need to counter push out the lane the best they can, and monster rounds is definitely going to help, as you can already see the drop through out of Saiah, putting down about 300 damage directly onto the head of Stride.
Also, speaking about Guardians under pressure, Jason, what in the world is going on in middle right now? The mid Guardian is down to half. The Amato Viscous pressure is already kicking off, and we are only at 3 minutes into the game. That Guardian's under half.
I mean, when your pocket, you have negative spirit resist to start off with, right? Negative 15%, and Viscous do a lot of poke. Yamato's gonna do a lot of poke, so it's definitely a lot of damage you're gonna be taking in this lane. But obviously, when you do have like Fish Cake here on Yamato, definitely known for his Yamato in the past, even with his short stint on Hydra Nation, you get this Guardian down, you free him up, you allow Scout to start to roam around on Viscous, so you can open up even more pressure on some other lanes, which we're seeing across the map. Melee Creeps are just trying to keep their pressure in every single lane and keep them under their own Guardians.
I just feel like it's a dam holding back the Melee Creeps right now, and it may be about to burst if they're able to get this mid tower down early. Also, just to kind of follow up on something we were talking about in the draft and who's playing what, it is Saiah on the holidays. So Melee Creeps getting that little bit of extra comfort pick, but man, oh man, the puddle punch coming on in, a little bit of right click action, and all you see here from Lil Troops continually giving up space in the middle as the Guardian gets pounded, and oh god, he actually landed that, Jason.
So the 2 on fires into the goop coming through for an early kill to fall. As we talked about, right, pocket, negative spirit resist can take a lot of extra damage, and this is not what you want to see for Little Troops if you're trying to hold on to this mid lane Guardian. And I don't think with the way we're seeing everyone else on Little Troops held into their own Guardian, they're going to have any help. So it's almost just pretty much leave this Guardian. It's going to go down eventually, and then free yourself up and look to counter any 3-man pushes onto these other Guardians.
Oh, she nearly dying the life drain, doing some serious work as we look off here to the right-hand side. Every lane, essentially, other than the Kelvin Shiv lane, in real danger right now for Little Troops. And it's going to get worse here, Jason, because the way middle lane has been going, the next wave of creeps, or maybe the one after, the mid Guardian's probably going to go down the way it's been going, and that's going to free up, most likely Scout, to apply pressure to left and right lanes in the same way we saw D-Mob do, and the Guardian is down, and now you got to wonder, where is the goo ball going to go?
I mean, even a second Guardian down. So it's really the focus on this left-hand lane where your Shiv Kelvin's going to be. And if you're Little Troops, you want to have Shiv, and Stride in particular, have a strong start to this game because he needs that snowball potential for Little Troops to really, well, snowball these fights. And at the moment, you have to wonder, when are melee creeps going to send additional players to this left-hand lane, get that flex slot unlocked, and then use that to apply pressure around the map, especially when we get to the 8-minute mark when the jungle camp spawn in. But a great lasso comes through directly onto Kelvin, and Rhino's in enemy territory.
Spirit Lasso bringing Kelvin off to the middle, forces out the frozen shelter, and look, just the game sense here. We decide, yeah, I don't even have to look at Kelvin for a little bit here. I'll know when he'll be out. I'll go over, drop a barrel, and put him back in spawn. Quick finish off on the left-hand side, so even the Kelvin Shiv lane now getting the business. His stride is super low.
The blood lane, oh, he actually survives. I was worried if the blood lane would finish him off or not, but he gets, I guess, the extra ticks of the extra region that he pointed out before, keeping him healthy enough to survive. But he has to head back to base, and this Guardian, it's going to be under more pressure. They even send in Scout to come in from behind. You know this is going to go down, and it's going to be a very strong start here for melee creeps.
And this is what I was worried about when we were dissecting the draft and where it was. Melee creeps stack the deck with heroes that win in lane and heroes that have very good ability to rotate up to the mid game and create problems for the other team. And Lil Troops, in a word right now, Jason, I would say overwhelmed.
Yeah, so I want to be a little bit careful of how I go about this, though, because I think when it comes to the lanes, just the 2v2 fighting, you don't need to be a team for a long time to work out how you play out these combos and how you play with your laning partner. I think where melee creeps might lack, and maybe why they focus on such an early game composition, is on this macro game of like who's leading, of the team playing around each other and knowing how to deny the enemy jungle camps the best they can and use the momentum they have in the beginning to turn it into a victory. So for MC, I feel like this is kind of when you have to start to win this game here and take control, because if Little Troops keep it close, having a lot more weeks under their belt, I feel like Little Troops can still easily come back, especially with the comp they have.
Well, they brought Scout over to left lane briefly now, in a little bit of back and forth with Kelvin. But while that's going on, it draws Kelvin off the left-hand side. The Guardian goes down, and Stride is getting chased down. Stride very likely to fall, and Renon gonna be the one to finish it off on the left-hand side. So every Guardian now down for Little Troops as melee creeps really taking advantage of the early game. And flying strike, Jason, the pressure continues.
Yeah, I'm not trying to back away. I know you talked about as being definitely a player to watch here for Little Troops, and he's going to have to be that player as Paradox to get these great swaps to come through. And honestly, looking at the Guardian health, only middle and right lane has actually been tickled by Little Troops so far. And I'm looking at, you know, any sort of invasion on melee creep side as they do push on the right hand side, looking for some damage onto the walker, deny some camps. Even on the left side, they've denied some camps. They're taking away and trying to control the economy and been able to build up a 5k lead already.
Jason, it's gonna be Spirit Lasso time in a moment. Saiah is roaming, went all the way over to the left, chasing down into the jungle as Fishkick gets the kill into the middle. But if we could get a view on Saiah right now, I think Saiah has pocket on the menu, just over in the middle left. But as this is going on, you got the Storm Cloud out. Poshipop making a little bit of desperate room, kind of needed right now for Little Troops. Really, any signs of life that they can find.
Yeah, and this is, I think, a perfect opportunity for Little Troops to punish melee creeps on the pushes into the jungle. See the frozen shelter coming through. It's just Scout locked inside, but again, the goo ball comes through and the stuns as well and allow him to escape here, but he gets swapped back in on 1 HP, and Rhino will eventually finish off that kill. So 2 kills coming in for Little Troops, potentially even a third with Saiah looking to be chased on. They just have the backup of Zerbzy here to protect him. And that's some, you know, some oversteps that maybe melee creeps did need to make, because now the gold or the soul difference is only 4k.
Soul difference is 4k, but I think the problem is that when we've lost all Guardians and the other side has all their Guardians, the ability for melee creeps to just roll around, freely grab camps and boxes, and Little Troops just playing from behind and keeping their waves up, it really takes its toll, especially because the way Little Troops have been playing the macro game right now, it doesn't really seem like they're keen to give anything up for free, and things like Earn are going to have to be paid for in kind of rough trades, I feel like, for Little Troops at the moment.
Paid for in blood. I mean, definitely not. I don't actually, they're not far enough behind, I believe, at the moment for it to be a turn on their side quite yet, though it is extremely close to that point. But as you mentioned, right, they're not giving away too much jungle. They got 2 catches on the right hand side before, and you can see they're trying to take their jungle as quick as they possibly can on the left hand side when they have their lane shoved out. But it's a very good point, like especially if melee creeps start to force some sort of play as like a 4 or 5 man squad, you have to respond to that as Little Troops. You can't just let things go for free, like Mott going down here. And that's when melee creeps can really use their lead to their advantage by just forcing those rotations and forcing a team fights you're not really ready for.
Yamato, a little bit of brawl here towards the shop. May just let Lash teleport away as buffs are about to be up here in 2 seconds. We'll see who's going to claim them. Flash gets away. Yamato under a little bit of chase. First buff going to be claimed here on the left by Hayes. Going to use it for a little bit of chase down the pocket, perhaps. See Ivy. Zerbzy going for a little bit of extra chase down, but it's pocket. You got a little bit of jump pads. You should be able to get off and away. But again, anytime you get this pressure here, you just transform it into take more jungle camps. Get further ahead if possible.
So I pointed out the counterspell to Fishcake, and I kind of want us to go into that really quickly, because to me, that's a very early counterspell for Yamato 10.5 minutes in. I mean, obviously the lash, it's really good for affliction. You can also stop the resets out of stride if he does go for his ultimate leveling first, which I believe he should be. Even the paradoxical swap out of Mott would be a good counter, but that's I think Fishcake wants to be very aggressive and very deep.
One would think. Bullet dance coming out and instantly canceled as it's deep enemy elevation. So you just see Kelvin LOS it from the get-go. But by continuing, Fishcake super low, gonna have to pop shout transformation, not able to stay alive regardless. And you know, a little bit of pressure coming in from Lil Troops now. They're able to rotate to the left. It's gonna be their first Guardian, and it pays some dividends. Also gets them a little bit closer on souls.
Well, we also did have the urn turned in for melee creeps, and they're pressuring the right lane Walker. This would be another flex thought for them. Again, completely opening this right-hand lane if they can. And with an Ivy there, it's very quick to be taken. Stormcloud comes in out of Poshy Pop, just trying to deter them away, which it will be successful to do so. But the rotations won't be here in time to help him out. So I'm going to come out of the Walker. The chase continue to go down on a Poshy Pop to secure this kill, and secure Walker on top will be phenomenal. But Mott has rotated in, not in time to save his teammate.
That is a wild chase down deep behind the Walker, and the Walker is just continuing to get pummeled. Even as Ivy taking damage in turn, one has to think that this Walker, if it doesn't fall now, is going to be pretty soon to fall. A little bit of evasion right now from Ivy, back and forth. Trying to make most of the 100 HP of the returns. Deciding to come back on over. Still wants the Walker here, Jason. This is highly aggressive, but if they get the Walker, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, big commitment there. They do lose 2 players, at least able to turn one around in towards the middle lane. Xerxes, yeah, he's going to be caught. No way you're escaping this one as a cold front comes out. To Poshy Pop there. But still, the damage has been done. That right lane completely weak and susceptible now to minions pushing down those base Guardians. And melee creeps, I mean, almost at a 10k lead. Still on a very strong start here with no real response yet out of Little Troops.
I kind of like melee creeps' decision making there, though. I mean, they get the urn and then they decide, okay, we're okay to trade out a Guardian and like half a Guardian middle. We're going to start working on walkers because, again, on the overall macro game, the sooner you can get walkers down, the more map control you can get, the more you can leverage it for advantages later on. But, Jason, taking a look at the right-hand side, things perhaps to get a little bit more heated. One of the Guardians still on the menu here for Lil Troops. But melee creeps deciding, no, we don't have to give this up for free. Swap coming in early. No swap up right now for JonJon. Just aerial mobility, staying alive way longer than you'd expect. May have bought time for the rest of his team to turn the tables.
Oh, is that a Slowing Hex coming through as well? G-Freak cannot escape this one. So 2 kills for the 1 death. Even a fight in mid lane happening while all this is going down. The affliction comes through, and they're trying to catch it over on a Fishcake and just pop that shout transformation to dive back in deep over to Flaws. Does have his teammate there to back up with Saiah. Getting the knockouts from those barrels, and they're continuing to go for this fight here. But look at Rhino, still extremely healthy, but he's not going to have the damage to help survive this fight out. He's got to escape as quick as possible. Even with Scout coming through off to the side, they're not going to be able to lock him down for a kill, but still, Little Troops, they ended up losing 2 players for the 1 kill that they got.
Look at the economy of the game. I think one of the things that you have to start worrying about as Little Troops is that both Fishcake and Renon starting to get a bit ahead of the game. Yeah, you've gotten your 7 to 14k, but something Jake brought up that is very true on the EU broadcast is you kind of expect the 7 to be here. You are arguably the quickest jungle clear in the game, so a 7 not even being on top of the game oftentimes is a bellwether that other things have been going pretty wrong within the match.
And I mean, even with Renon, I actually wanted to touch on his build a little bit because he's going like the pretty typical damage haze build. Like nothing supporty about it that we've seen in the past. No silent or no lens, focus lens picked up. Though I don't know if he's even going to go that route. Slowing Hex as well, so you can go for the chase with the Fury Trance. Like he's very damage heavy. And he's kind of committed to playing this route as well, which is going to be very difficult to deal with if you do allow him to split push and you have the other 5 kind of stick together as a group.
Guardian going down over on green. Saiah, though, coming in, has the lasso, throws it out, catches Lash, or catches Shiv, brings him back in, and just immediately crunched by the rest of the team. So you get the Guardian, still comes at a cost hero-wise. And also, look at what's going on the left here, Jason. Another Walker maybe going down, and you don't love Guardian for Walker trades.
No, you don't. And this should be almost a free Walker on the left-hand side. Even picking up another kill on the G-Freak, which was the right-hand side of the map. This is the snowball. I mean, to be fair, it's only like a 10k difference, which is kind of surprising considering how I felt like this game has been going. But with the amount of map control that melee creeps do have, I find it kind of difficult for Lil Troops to get back into this unless they're able to get those catches in their own jungle.
I think, though, the way this is compositionally, this is the sort of tempo that Melee Creeps has to play with, because if Lil Troops was able to even things out and get the game into more of a state of neutral, I like the Lil Troops composition more. So for Melee Creeps, if they're making this work, they need to continue to play at this level and push walkers as quickly as they've been doing, because should the game go to neutral, I think it starts to go against them.
Well, I don't even think neutral necessarily. I think one problem Melee Creeps are going to have if they can't build up maybe another 5k lead on top of what they currently have, team fighting. Like they cannot really afford to group to look for fights. They have to almost go for picks with the composition that they have at the moment. When it comes to just raw team fighting with a Lash ultimate, the Stormcloud top that with Affliction, even the Frozen Shelter, I don't think you're going to win on the fight unless you extend this lead a little bit further. And I think maybe the plan out of Melee Creeps is just to avoid the team fight. And maybe for Lil Troops, it's just to kind of survive to get to that point to team fight.
Speaking of team fighting, it's starting to get hot and heavy here in middle. Ball opening up here for Scout for disruption. Saiah goes down. Saiah was looking for a lasso into the back, wasn't able to find it. And now under pressure, Fishcake gonna have to drop Shout transformation, throws himself into the freezer, and this Kelvin play may be enough to save Paradox under the Amado dive, times out the rest of the Shout transformation. Paradox though still pretty low. Mott will pay the price in the end. A little bit of back and forth mill, but as this is going on, Jason, the Walker falls on the left-hand side. Melee Creeps still have to be a pretty big fan of that.
Yeah, I mean, Renan also gets a kill onto Mott there in the left-hand lane, and he escapes. JonJon was pushing the right lane while this was all happening. So Pop couldn't join the fight in middle. Yes, you get Urn, but you still lose more control around the map. You have taken the lead from 9k down to 6k, which is fantastic. But at the moment, Melee Creeps are still just in full control. And you can hear the scream of mid-boss. They do have the Guardian down extremely quickly. A big Affliction comes in, though. ZP sets it up onto 4, but he needs the backup to capitalize.
It's a 4-man Affliction, but capitalize is the right word here, Jason, is that, yes, you've hit 4 people with the Affliction. The Frogs had a good day, but the rest of your team, they're not in position to go after it. So in the end, it doesn't actually do anything. Melee Creeps get to leave, they get to heal, they have Rejuvenator, and you have to think that now that they have a full Rejuvenator and didn't pay really anything for it, that mid-walker is just about guaranteed the fall for Little Troops, while they're so far away from even getting a single walker of Melee Creeps.
I'm looking a lot now towards Renan here too. 23k with Rejuve. You set him up in a lane to split push. As long as you can disengage properly with Melee Creeps, which having like a counter spell on Fishcake, you can, be allowed to play more aggressive into the front line to bait out some abilities and maybe some ultimates. I think you have a really easy window to either taking base Guardians or taking that mid lane Walker. And honestly, like with the Rejuve in the hands of Melee Creeps in the lead they have, one mistake is just going to turn this game into an almost impossible comeback for Little Troops.
We like to talk about win conditions a lot and what you have to do to have a good fight or advance your own causes in the game. And I think the reality now is that if Melee Creeps get another good fight, if they're able to take mid-walker and get kills off it, and Lil Troops isn't able to do something to flip the script, their win conditions become so incredibly narrow that the comeback, I'm not going to use the word impossible, that's a cursed word in casting, but about as close to impossible as you're going to get. I think you're on the precipice right now of things getting fully out of hand. So for Little Troops, they get one more good fight. We'll see how they handle it. Their Walker is what's at stake here, Jason.
Well, they do get a catch on a Scout. Necessarily the best target to do so, since he has Cube. He's going to have his Goo Ball in just a second. He actually gets burst down. He has a chance. Again, the Rejuve going to get him back alive yet again. His teammates can be rotating to help out. They do get the finish on a Scout, so 1 kill has been confirmed. Man advantage in the hands of Little Troops, but again, they still have so many players to deal with. I hear Shadow Transformation going off for Fishcake. This mid Walker is going down over time, and Melee Creeps starting to come back in this fight.
Pop, the storm has been quelled. The Walker is going down. And now look at this full bullet haze, completely operational. But again, the bullet dance just stymied by elevation yet again. Freezer being put on out. Rhino desperately trying to save and support the team. But you look at the HP, and Lil Troops is getting whittled down left, right, and center. Renan is still absolutely healthy, laying in the bullet damage. And Zerbzy gets right back up. All Rejuvenators have been used. Lil Troops, though, they lose their Walker, and base Guardians now very much a threat.
Yeah, 100%. Like, this should be the final flex unlocked in just a few seconds. You can see even JonJon breaking off to his left-hand lane to take down another wave of base Guardians. We're only 20 minutes in. And surprisingly enough, we haven't mentioned that Stride not to call him out in particular, but at 16,000 souls, basically tied with lowest in his team with Rhino and Mott. Yeah, he got 1 kill on the scout before, but this Shiv is just not going to really be doing any damage just because he's too far behind to his opponents.
You know, there's a lot of lore about the Baxter Society, who's still in it, who's not. And what I could say here is that maybe some of the people that left the Baxter Society could have been the actual income here, because don't think Shiv is actually getting the greatest payday based on the current game. But I mean, the reality is that a 17k Shiv, you're not really scary at this point. If Stride rolls up on Renon in a dark alley, it's going to be Stride that's going to be the one going back to spawn. It's really not the ideal for Shiv, and Shiv just does not have the presence in team fights unless Shiv is a threat running at you, and Stride's just not going to be tanky enough for where it's at right now.
And pair that also with the fact they have a cube. You can't really guarantee a kill onto Yamato either, because Fishcake does have counterspell. Zerbzi can stone form. Renon technically can become immune to it if it times it perfectly. But we do see a fight breaking out on this right-hand side. Finally, Lil Troops trying to put the pressure on as they get an initial kill on the Xenon. Just as we talk about Stride not really being too scary. 1 kill is a good start, but they're not outlasting the damage coming back their way. Saiah turns it back onto Mott, and Saiah's continuing to push in, gets the catch on his Stride, pulls him back into his team and says, you might get 1 kill, but you ain't going to get more.
Barrel about to come back online.
I kind of called it earlier here, ZP, but it looks like Stride might be able to escape.
Maybe not.
Okay, there we go. All's right in the world now.
I do love the moment of anxiety here. It's like, I called it. He's dead. Nope. Wait. Okay. That's how he's actually
second guessing myself there, you know?
Well, one thing that's not being second guessed is the macro dominance of melee creeps at the moment. The one interesting thing here, Jason, is that even as Lil Troops has tried to get some fights here and there, the lanes have just been strikingly yellow the entire way through, just pushed up. And while it's pushed up, it's given melee creeps unfettered access to the jungle, the ability to maintain their lead, and even this urn that has to be turned in Lil Troops territory may not have much of a contest at the moment.
Oh man, no silence on that time wall just yet for Mott, so it allows Scout to get away. I mean, that would have been a great opportunity. Get a kill here. You have mid boss coming up in about 2 minutes. You have buffs coming up about 2.5 minutes time. You have some jungle you could have potentially farmed, or just having a 6-on-5 advantage with Poshy Pops coming in just a few seconds. But Scout gets away, and melee creeps get earned. Best case scenario for them with a 25k soul lead.
Also, you look at recent items picked up. Tank Buster coming up for Saiah. A little bit extra damage on the barrels. Going full barrel build, which is pretty common as far as Holiday goes. You'll usually, at this point in the game, see level 3 lasso into level 3 barrel. And yeah, I mean, as you take a look at this, I come back to the idea of win conditions, and one thing I gotta say, it's been a rough game for Death Slams. I haven't really seen a big Death Slam at G-Freak yet. Zerbzi, though, getting caught, quick little swap in from Mod, and that at least creates a small window of opportunity if you can chain one elimination into another.
Yeah, it alleviates some pressure. They can go back to pushing out their own waves. I think the big downside for them, as you kind of pointed out before, the entire map being all yellow, because the lanes aren't shoved out, it's not like they can push in for a walker now having a 6v5. If anything, if Lil Troops maybe were, 10k higher in souls than they currently have, I feel like they could almost force some fights with their team, because they have a very good team-oriented or team fight-oriented composition, and you can fight around these objectives, even though we saw previously it not work out too well for them when they hit on this right-hand lane. But maybe a catch on the side here could be exactly what they need. He does get sold up by the Connect Carbine. Ethereal shifts away from the paradoxical swap, and it looks like his teammates won't be here in time to save him.
Thrown into the dome. When you really want someone dead, well, Saiah is absolutely dead. But you did end up using your frozen shelter on it. You brought everyone there in the map, so you're still getting pushed on the outskirts. Was it worth it? They know mid-boss is up. They had the timer, and they're immediately going for it as soon as mid-boss spawns. But you take a look at what's going on. The rest of melee creeps all heading on in, and maybe elevation won't hurt Renon this time. The bullet haze good to go as the mid-boss gets taken on down. But here comes the team fight over and in. Yamato opening up Shadow Transformation. Melee creeps just taking free real estate here at the moment. Pajipop drops a Storm Cloud off to the side. Is it going to be enough? They are able to get a few hits on the Rejuvenator. All of it, in fact, towards Lil Troops. So the Storm Cloud doing massive work here, Jason. And melee creeps not quite able to be the fearsome force that they thought they might have been.
They forced the team fight off the back of the Rejuvenator. They're exactly what they were looking for with the initial kill they had on the side to kick this one off, and they're going to come out relatively clean. They lose out on 2 of their tokens that they had. They take away the one from melee creep, so now they have a huge advantage when it comes to just the raw stats they gain from this one. Poshy Pop has definitely hit this point of where he's come online as well. The waves are pushed up against Little Troops, so yeah, there's a little bit of extra farm they can get here, and it's not like they can immediately capitalize on any of these objectives, but honestly, a really greatly timed team fight too.
It was interesting how well it worked too. That was a no frozen shelter team fight. They had used it for the pick on the Saiah, and initially it looked like they were just gonna give up space. Lil Troops completely disengaged there, Jason, at the beginning as melee creeps went into the pit. Then Pashi got the storm cloud out. They went back in. They went in for the hits on the Rejuvenators and went down. Got all 3 before it was all said and done. I mean, it was super well played by Little Troops.
Yeah, I think Pashi definitely should have been the MVP of that fight. Just the fact that he positioned himself so well, or maybe it's what's the opposite of MVP? The least valuable player, the LVP for melee creeps. Like no one's stopping his storm cloud to prevent all that damage coming through and really limiting where melee creeps can fight from. You did see a knockdown used here onto Floss to deny the earn turn in, but they do pick it back up and get the secure on top of this. So that's that soul deficit they were behind him with like 20, almost 30k. It's completely gone now. As you see another team fight break off of this.
Fish Cake just gets slaughtered right outside of the dome, and it is getting worse before it gets better right now for melee creeps. As you mentioned, the lead evaporated. Scout taking refuge in his own cube. Now gonna have to goo ball away as a pure escape maneuver. As we look over here to the top, G-Freak, still been a quieter game on Lash. Death Slam ready to go, and this left walker in real danger.
This is exactly what you're looking for Little Troops. Good affliction comes through, catches quite a few players on the side of melee creeps. Walking down to half HP, and honestly, if you're MC here, you almost just need to back away for they get a catch. Mott again, another catch comes through, and Strike closed it down. And he talked about Mott as being one of the players to really look out for, and honestly, his paradoxical swaps have been opening up these kills and these team fights now here for Little Troops.
And it's just kill after kill coming in here, Jason. Stagger after stagger. The parry onto the Viscous ends up saving Stride's life just when you think Stride is about to go down. What a ridiculous turn of events. Anything that could have gone wrong for melee creeps just went wrong in rapid fashion. From 30k up to now 10k down, this has been a collapse and a half.
This is where Little Troops completely, I mean, I'm not gonna say now, they came online about 10 minutes, or it feels like 5 to 10 minutes ago with their composition, forcing these fights around the Reju, forcing another fight around this Walker. They have 2 back-to-back amazing fights, and now they're the ones in lead by 13, almost 14,000 souls. Honestly, this looks like the Buff Enjoyers Abraham's match last week in our money match of the first game, where they came back from 25k down. Little Troops are pulling off the exact same thing.
And now a team that for the most part was playing very far ahead, a composition for melee creeps that was entirely based around early game dominance. You've lost your lead. The entire point of this comp was to play with a lead. I don't think that they win against the Little Troops comp scaling wise if they have to play from behind. Now, Jason, the win conditions for melee creeps, it's gotten so much more narrow and so much more reliant on Saiah opening up fights with the Spirit Lasso and melee creeps being a little bit sneakier. But they also have the game intelligence now to pull back and adjust their strategy and not run at Little Troops the way they were before.
We also have to worry about a couple more threats. We really focused on Stride earlier on at the 16k soul mark for himself, being pretty far behind his team and pretty far behind melee creeps. He's now at 30,000, beating out most players on his opponent's side. So we talked about Shiv not being much of a threat. Well, now he is, as you've seen a couple of these fights really work out in his favor. I feel like the haze is kind of, not to point Renon out in particular, has fallen off a little bit because we have gotten to the team fighting out of both teams, and he hasn't been able to pull off any objective taking by split pushing or been able to get any picks solo because Little Troops are kind of keeping an eye on each other.
I mean, look, when you look at the soul income, I feel like Renon's bank account got frozen. I think back to just a little bit before in the game, like 5-10 minutes ago, Renon was at 30k. 10 minutes later, Renon's still in the 30k range. It just has not been much in terms of farm, but all right, a little bit of setup coming over here on the left-hand side.
I like this. He kind of just runs away to try to force their attention towards him and ignore Stride, who is maybe looking to teleport out of this one. But this is actually a really good timing. 1 minute to go on mid-boss. Melee creeps, they finally get a mana advantage here, but again, I'm not sure the mana advantage is going to be enough if they do look for a push. They still have the right lane base guardians to take and the shrines thereafter. You can see they've, even with that kill ZP, they backed away. They're pushing out the lanes. They're probably able to farm some jungle up here as well.
The problem with the timing on the Stride is that you look at the mid-boss timer that we have set up production-wise versus Stride's timer. Mid-boss is coming up when Stride is going to be back up in about 10 seconds, and that is enough of a window that if you tried to force mid-boss here, Lil Troops would probably be able to put together a pretty good contest. So it's not the scenario they would have liked. I think Melee Creeps now, they just want to take advantage of some of the jungle that they can get here, maybe set up from an earn fight and go from there. But again, I would like to see Saiah at least try and pawn this earn off on someone else, because I do think their best fighting gauge is Saiah able to find the Spirit Lasso from the get-go here, especially at a neutral earn turn in.
I'm wondering, does Little Troops just rush mid boss while they're trying to turn an earn? Or are they going to contest it? We can see in the mini map they are going to be going for the contest coming from the backside. Well, I think Saiah's gotten far enough ahead he can get the clean turn in, but they're going to maybe lose a player. Someone getting caught out, completely surrounded by Little Troops, and you do not want to be going down a player here, especially the great paradoxical swap coming through directly onto JonJon.
I think JonJon's a bad early target, though. Still has a swap in reserve. Stormcloud comes out into the frozen dome on top of the two. However, knockdown going to be ending the storm. A little bit of adaptation here from Melee Creeps, who are pretty wounded overall from that engage. No one caught, but half of Melee Creeps is at half HP, and G-Freak now saying, let's change the equation. Death Slam comes out, puts Scout super low. Scout not dead, but not long for this world perhaps either. Renan caught on the side. JonJon goes down, swap not enough to save. And with Melee Creeps having 2 down, with mid boss now being up, Lil Troops, they're going to try and get a little bit extra here, Jason, then go directly mid right after.
If Melee Creeps are going to win a fight, it had to have been right there. Poshi Pop, Rhino, Mott, Flaws, all not having ultimates available for that fight. They had everything they needed to win that fight, but I think the great Death Slam out of G-Freak catching 2, and then Stride kind of being ignored, doing a lot of damage. Of course, there's double life strike, 100%, or double phantom strike, sorry. Obviously, it's a joke, but they do go strictly for mid boss here. And Melee Creeps, if you're Scout, I don't feel like you can afford to die. If best case, you steal away 1 credit, but you're going to be down for 60 plus seconds, and that is easily enough time for them to take 2 walkers and base guardians.
They got 1 though. Off on the outskirts, Zerbs, he was able to get 1. Gives his life for it. Ideally, if you're Melee Creeps, you'd love to steal at least 1 charge here, but with Scout falling, doesn't seem likely. Only Saiah is up right now for Melee Creeps and is still in and around the pit, throwing a few barrels, looking for a contest, but how much can a solo Holiday do here? Your best case scenario, maybe you go in and get 1 charge of the Rejuvenator, then instantly die right after. I feel like you just kind of want to get out.
Yeah, you kind of need to. I mean, JonJon, he's coming back up. Fishcake will be up before they go for the push. Renon's available already. But you kind of need Scout and Zerzy, but at the same time, you're down 15k plus all the extra stats you get with Rejuve, having all 4 of the credits on your side for Little Troops. I don't know, man. As we were talking about, you know, almost being impossible for Little Troops to come back, I'm seeing it as almost impossible for Melee Creeps to get back in this game with how things have played out and with the compositions alone.
The comp is the big part, is that Little Troops, they have a composition that just works better into the late game overall. And, you know, again, you kind of brought it up a little bit, and I tend to agree, is that we've also long past the window where Haze feels good. I mean, Haze's biggest spike is in the mid game, and I feel like, again, you look at Renon's farm. Renon's farm is slowed to a crawl as this game has gone on. Still the most farmed on Melee Creeps, but relative to the state of the game, I don't know if Renon is the biggest threat anymore the way it was when Melee Creeps was up 30k. So,
you know, I think Little Troops deserve some credit, though, of how they handled dealing with him, because when they were farming previously, they were farming with like 2 players in each lane. It wasn't like they let 1 player go farm by itself or by themselves, meaning Renan could have that 1v1, because he can still 1v1 most players. Maybe Poshi Pop, he would struggle to beat 1v1 now with how farmed up he is, but he could pretty much 1v1 or should be able to any of the other heroes on the other side. So I think they did a good job of like preventing him from getting stronger in this game.
Melee Creeps trying to go for a bit of an ambush here. Up in the air is G-Freak, finally out of the CC, going for the Death Slam, picks up 2. Gets hit with the knockdown. The Frozen Shelter, though, being over the Death Slam targets, ends up with 2 down right after. The combo between Lash and Kelvin really paying dividends. And with 2 down, Melee Creeps may be facing the beginning of the end. Lil Troops still with all 6 up. They lost 2 charges of Rejuvenator. That is a price they're more than willing to pay as they pick up another 2. And Jason, we're heading into the end game.
Yeah, the end game. Well, we're heading into the next game at this point, man. The base guardian's going to be going down. The shrines, they should be taking a few seconds here. I mean, look at the respawn timers as well. The Rejuve is still there for another 2 minutes of time. This Patron's going to fall. And I think they just go for the finish here. Like, they have everyone up. They have the dome to heal up as well. Even the health nova there to get everyone a little bit extra topped off and healthy. I think this is it. Like, Little Troops said they pulled off the comeback here.
Yep, they're going to sit here and immediately unload on the patron. Scout's going to try and delay a puddle punch, but there's only so much a single Viscous and Haze can do. The patron getting burned on down, and that is going to be Lil Troops defeating Melee Creeps, moving on for yet another match against Hydra Nation. And, you know, we talked about win conditions, and Melee Creeps, they executed their plan for quite a while, Jason, but it just wasn't enough towards the end. A few mistakes let Lil Troops back into the game. And once they were back in, you couldn't get them out.
I think they deserve a lot of credit, though. I think they show they have a lot of potential. Like, I'm not going to judge Melee Creeps harshly at all, considering this is the first time we're seeing them here in DLNS. This is the first time we're seeing them play together as a team. I think they had a fantastic early game. They dominated all their lanes, taking all 3 Guardians before they lost even one, or even got relatively low. It was just when we got to that point of the team fighting breaking off, that's where they ran out of steam, and Lil Troops were able to get back into it.
Can I call you guys out now? You both are liars. You told me there's no way this team's going to come back and win. They came back and won, ZP. That shit just happened. It was getting a little bit sloppy, but then they brought it back. Was it an individual play? Was it team fights? Was it an outplay or just better jungling? What was the difference in the second half? How do you come back from that big deficit after 20 minutes?
It was one mistake followed up by an even bigger mistake on a team fight level. Step 1, you pick Saiah. You invest your frozen shelter to get the pick on the Saiah, who's also coincidentally one of the few heroes that can interrupt a Storm Cloud naturally via Spirit Lasso. Mitch has entered my brain for that one. But then you go into the mid boss pit and you ignore Pashi Pop, who's off to the side, and the Storm Cloud does an enormous amount of damage. And it just goes absolutely terribly for you on the contest. And after that contest goes haywire, you end up losing your walkers. You give up all the lane souls that are on the map. And those 2 big mistakes from Melee Creeps really did just throw the game away.
Jason Kaplan, I want to celebrate all of the first-time chatters that are joining us to spam the Mott pasta. Is this safe to read out loud? I'm a little bit scared.
I trust you.
Mott. This is your time to shine. You've got the toolkit, the mindset, and the drive. Whether you're locking down lanes as Vindicta, bringing the chaos with quit chatting, it's moving all over the place. Pulling fights your way with Lash or controlling the field with Ivy. You're never just picking a character, you're commanding the battlefield. Remember, every play that makes you shift momentum, every decision you make inspires your team. You don't just react. You dictate the pace. That's what makes you dangerous. Thank you, chat. All right, now stop that spam or I'll fucking hit you with the timeout. This is a show presented by Intel, and we are professionals around here. ZP, Jason Kaplan, Chris Puckett on the mics for the second half of the show. The night shift is getting dark as we take a look at some of the best moments. Melee Creeps, there's no way they lose this game. This team is crushing. What happened in the early game? It wasn't just the Spirit Lasso, ZP.
No, it was lane domination. I mean, Melee Creeps, the comp they put up basically put together really strong lanes, particularly in mid, where we saw a lot of the damage done early, but it escalated to every single lane. They had 3 Guardians to 0 off the comp that they ran, and they weren't making mistakes for a very long period of time. Just good macro trades where even when Lil Troops would get a Guardian later on, it would come at the cost of the Walker, or it'd come at the cost of Urn. Melee Creeps, they use their early currency of getting ahead with strong lanes to make really beneficial trades that eventually got them 30,000 souls ahead.
Jason, I'm just watching these and I'm smiling. What was your favorite character one-on-one to watch? What was your favorite lane battle for the first half of this game?
I would say you reading that copy pasta. I kind of want to get chat to. I want to get chat to write some fanfic for you to call out, because we already had Uber do that once, and I want to kind of do a comparison between you and him, and who I would pay to actually narrate a novel.
Wait, Mitch read a fanfic to you?
To me, I mean, well, let's not talk about what he does off air, but he did read a fanfic that happened.
I was going to say, what happened before I joined the night shift? Episode 1 must have been wild.
Some long nights, man. But if there's any particular player, I think, I was happy with Renan so far. For a newcomer into a team playing at this kind of level that we haven't seen before, I feel like he did a fairly good job. I don't think his bank account being frozen necessarily on him. I think, honestly, Lil Troops responded extremely well to his play and not allowing to go for these individual picks and catching people off guard to have a 6-on-5 man advantage. So for me, yeah, happy to see him, and that was definitely like a player I was looking at.
Chat is all against Hayes. Do you agree with this character not making it at the pro level, ZP? Do you have to play shorter games if you want success?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's shorter games. You have a window with Hayes, and the window is more mid-game oriented. I also think, like, you can chalk up at least half of it to luck, honestly, like some bad luck. But the bullet dances for Renan were not great in a lot of situations where we would see bullet dance come out right as a player was changing elevation, basically. It's like, well, okay, no damage is going to occur here. But I do think melee creeps, it would have been fine if they didn't have that pick into mid-boss disaster. But once the soul lead actually got equalized, I do think comp-wise, the Haze ended up being more of an anchor after, admittedly, it did help them get ahead in the first place.
I'm enjoying the game so far. Chat, if you are as well, let us know. All you have to do is hit a follow. You'll get a notification every time we go live. You want to take it a step further, hit the sub button, and we will celebrate you the same way we celebrate tonight's MVP for the Challenger match in North America. It's the one and only Poshy Pop rocking the 7. We saw the bot dealing out the damage, 38,000 to players, 45K souls collected on the way to dropping 19 assists. Jason Kaplan, why did he earn your MVP tonight?
I think just positioning in some of these fights, whether it was him positioning extremely well or taking advantage of the enemy team not having anything to deal with his storm clouds. I mean, he didn't even get unstoppable here. Like he had plated armor to help deal with this, he had spirit resilience, he had leech as well. He didn't really play that typical don't interrupt me, I'm ulting kind of style. But yeah, it's just some great positioning. We know Poshy Pop to be such a tried and tested player overall in the comp scene. He was with the original melee creeps that took down Hydronation and allowed melee creeps to have their own legacy in Deadlock. I think overall, just he kept farming. He made sure that he didn't like get down on himself, which sounds a little bit odd, but considering how the game was going, then being 25K behind, it's really important to still stay focused and know that you can come back. And honestly, Poshy Pop is always a very positive player, but I mean, his 7. It's his bread and butter, man. Like that's one of the heroes he's become known for.
ZP, is having a 7 like an insta win here for the mid boss?
It's really, really good, especially if you don't have anything naturally there that can interrupt the storm cloud. If you haven't done your item tax and gotten taxed to build a knockdown specifically to deal with it. But that was also part of the brilliance of how things worked out, is that their pick was onto Saiah, who otherwise could have done a lasso to interrupt the storm cloud. They got rid of that option. They had not a lot of great abilities to actually interrupt the storm cloud, and rather than disengaging or seeing that the situation was bad, melee creeps thought they were ahead enough to fight, even down Saiah, and they were sorely wrong.
Critter Callus has claimed someone as their husband. Not sure who they're talking about, but we'll sort that out. Want to remind you all, hit that sub button. Since ZP has joined, we have lost 25 subs. We're going to try and get back up to that number that we had before he did. Help us do that during the break, and he might purr. This is night shift. It gets weird. Just enjoy it. Just marinate in the awful.